right, guys, welcome to another edition of Texans Unfiltered, a Houston football podcast for your Houston Texans. I am young Ari Gold, and I am joined by my friend and co-host John Wade, the Garnet Texan.
What's up, dude?
What's up, man?
Hey, I took the week off. Did you? I'm a horrible co-host and follower, and all the stuff we ask everybody out there to do.
Yeah.
Did you record last week?
No.
You did not?
No, I was going to try to, but just the week got away from me.
No,
I honestly have realized this week that, I've just taken on way too much, and I got to figure out, what's got to go, because I can't, as you get older, the less you can function, and, I mentally am at a capacity point where it's time to dump some of that. I just don't know what dumping that means. I know it's not this, and I know it's not the brand, but I don't know. We'll figure it out, but I'm almost at a breaking point mentally. I know that.
Oh, no, that's not good.
Right.
That is absolutely not good.
It happens. It happens every.
Do we need to have a therapy session?
I mean, I'm always open to having therapy. Is a great thing. It's a great thing for if people don't go to therapy. I don't. We grew up, and not that this is Texans, but we grew up in such a a different world where being tough as a kid, especially as a boy kid, it's the expectation that you're tough.
Yeah.
It's the expectation that you don't talk at all about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've seen people and dads recently, even friends that I talk to, who still have that same stigma. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. Raise your kids however you want. I haven't raised 3 perfect kids, whatever. But a lot of these people still have it where they, therapy, you can't put your kid in therapy, or you can't talk about you should still be tough.
No, I mean, I definitely get it. I've been diagnosed with ADHD every 5 years since I was 18.
Yeah.
And I still can't talk to my parents about it. My parents still think that it's
an excuse,
making excuses. I'm I have had at this point 6, no, not 6, but it feels like 6 different doctors, but 3 or 4 different doctors say, dude, you are a textbook case of ADHD. And my parents are no, you're just making excuses. You're just being lazy.
I mean, I've had ADD before ADHD was a thing. I had ADD, which is just attention deficit disorder. And I had that at the age of 6. And, I remember as a kid having to go to during class,
Mm-hmm.
take a break. I'd had the nurse called me down to take my medicine. I don't know. ADD is a different conversation, but ADD is a conversation where so many people struggle with it.
Yep.
And it's a real thing. Are there ways to suppress it without medication? Sure.
Yeah.
I think you can. I think you could probably train your brain to be better at it, as somebody who I believe ADD or ADHD is truly a superpower once you understand how to manage it and leverage it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
the geniuses all have it.
I mean, there's so many things that we could kind of go down the rabbit hole on it, and I'm going to try and avoid it. But let me put it like this. It's definitely a real thing. The first time I was on Adderall, I about broke down in tears because it changed my life so much. This is how when we were in college, Adderall was the drug. You took Adderall to get through. People do these
high school dropout here.
Yeah. They would take Adderall to
fight
cram,
through and cram all that. Yeah.
And the first time I took it, I was just the world slowed down. I fell asleep. They're like, how do you fall asleep on Adderall? I can chug that Monster and go take a nap. That's just how I am.
These actually, from what I've read, for people that have ADHD, is the actual opposite effect.
Yes.
I'll drink this at 6 a.m. and I can fall asleep at 7 a.m.
Well, what it does is it balances out the dopamine in your
brain, which makes sense.
And so when other people get a dopamine rush, they're wired. For us with ADHD, we're just getting that dopamine rush to finally balance everything out, and things start to make sense. It's kind of one of the cool things about ADHD is that high you get when you listen to a really great song.
Yep.
Apparently, that's what people without ADHD get when they drink coffee.
Oh, that makes sense. Could you imagine just taking a sip of something and getting that feeling? Dude, how cool is that?
I'm kind of incredibly jealous because I don't never really get to experience that.
No.
But they don't get that high from music like we do.
Right. So. Yeah. It's funny you say slow down. It's almost like what happens to a second or third year quarterback after being the rookie.
Oh boy. I mean, yeah, like.
But no, I mean, it's actually a
we
football
should,
comparison, a football
yeah,
analogy, but it's the truth. Like, it's almost like, that rookie year is very much like everything's flying. You're not used to it. Everybody's just as fast and as athletic as you are. It's not like college where you can go play, whatever small town school. You're playing. Everybody in the NFL is very good. So like that first rookie year, that's why there's a rookie wall. The rookie quarterbacks hit it, and then second, third year they start, and then they all say in every interview like it started to slow down for me.
right. And I mean, which is interesting, because that actually brings up the big thing I want to talk about. Because I'm not gonna be able to say PFF Bobby's last name, but do you think last year, when he was keeping the offense relatively simple with motions and play actions, just modern facets of the NFL game, actually having play action and motion, which we did not have under Bill O'Brien. And that blew everybody's mind. But relatively kept it simple from about week 2 on, and CJ Stroud just, grew and exploded. To currently, he's overthinking himself again.
No.
I
think CJ just isn't exactly where everybody was hoping he would be in year 2 yet.
Really?
I think CJ, look, we've talked about it at the beginning when we relaunched, was last year they exceeded expectations.
Correct.
And I think with an exceeded expectations of a team come exceeded expectations of the players, right? So let's go for let's not say CJ, let's say Nico. This year, Nico is continuing to exceed expectations, right? He's elevated his game. He's potentially the best wide receiver in the league. Fair?
Potentially, yeah.
Potentially, right? I mean, obviously, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, he's top 5.
I would take, I mean, as a homer, of course, I'd say Nico's number 1, but I have homer glasses on, so.
But top 5, fair?
Yeah, top 5.
I mean, he leads the league in easily everything.
Like, I think it's only, the only debate is between him, Chase, and Jefferson, and it's top 3.
So,
and I mean, honestly, right now, I mean, prior to the hamstring, I would take Nico.
Right, 100%. So, I think CJ, I think, and we actually saw it at the beginning of last year. I mean, at the beginning of last season. CJ, while he didn't take the first 3-4 weeks, he didn't take the league by storm. He did okay. He managed things, right? And then in my mind, it was like, oh, Slowik. What I think Slowik did last year was he broke it down in quarters. Like, and when I say quarters, I mean like four game quarters, right? He said, here's where we're going to start to ramp you. We're going to start with the basics in 4 games. I mean, basics. This is what we're going to do to help ease you.
True.
No, it is. You can see. You can go back and watch it. And then they actually elevated the offense.
They were throwing the entire kitchen sink out there.
No, they did after week 4.
And then he had to kind of like
week 5 is when they started. And then he had to continue to work it down and then work it up. So if you go back and watch the first 4 weeks, it was a very minimalist offense. Very, very minimalist. They did not do a lot of different things. A lot of it was first read throws. There were things that CJ, it was to ease him into it, which makes sense. It's what you do with a rookie quarterback. You don't throw the kitchen sink at your rookie quarterback. I think CJ probably got comfortable in that. And then also came the star and the fame of this offseason. First time ever having to actually monitor how much time was being spent in the camera and on interviews and on commercial shoots and all the things that he was doing in the offseason. Those were things that he was not doing in college, right? So he didn't have the amount of time to be the film junkie that he really is. And I think it caught up to him. I think he relied on himself a little bit. And I know I'm the only one that says this. I am the only one that thinks that CJ could have elevated things. I don't think Bobby's to not blame at all. Like, right? Like the 4th down run, let's be honest.
Here's the biggest problem I have with all that.
Okay.
We are 28th in the league on first down EPA. We are 8 on second and third down.
So okay. And what about the other downs?
So first down.
It's runs. It's a lot of runs. I know.
28th EPA.
It's a lot of
expected runs. Success. Second and third, 8th.
Yep.
That jump.
Go look at the runs.
That's on play calling, dude.
I don't agree.
Well, no, it's not just play calling. It's also penalties.
Well, and that's what
Substantially
skews,
amounted.
and that's what
As a-
skews the stats, and that's what skews the percentages is the play calling, right? Like prior to the previous 2 weeks, all of the third and longs weren't play calling, they were false starts. They were holding, so it's like we're skewing the statistics to be able to the last 2 weeks say it's Bobby. But if we're breaking it down and only looking at that, right?
Here's the other problem though. CJ Stroud has a almost 80% completion percentage on play action.
Yeah.
We have the largest drop off from last year from play action to this year. One of the things that I really liked last year about the offense is we would run play action even if the running game was not working.
Yeah.
Like they just constantly ran play action. They did not care. They would continue to do it.
Yep.
This year they've stopped.
Yep.
And not stopped, they've just cut it by 25%. And that's a pretty drastic change, especially when it's your highest success. Like any play that has a play action is our highest success rate.
Mm.
And why did they cut it? And this was like last time we talked, I was kind of talking about, is it the offensive line? Do they not trust them on play action?
Yeah.
Like, are they not at, is it there? Is this Bobby trying to outsmart himself? Is the, like, what's going on? And those are the two issues that I have. But it's like, wait a second. This isn't on CJ Stroud. Now, granted, I do think like we are absolutely blessed to have CJ Stroud. So please, all y'all that are going to probably give me a little bit of hate when I say this. I do think that part of the reason CJ looks so good is our expectations for him were non-existent last year.
Yep.
And like you were saying, last year there was no expectations. So all he had to do was come out and be competent.
Yep.
And we would have thought he was the next great thing. And when he comes out and he is the next great thing, it's like all of a sudden we're expecting that week in, week out. You want him to be this absolute elite level, like quarterback. And he actually has been, if you look at the numbers. But the score doesn't feel that way. I mean, we're 4-1.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I just was on a boat, so I might have miscounted. I was like, are we 4-1 or 5-1? Like,
4-1.
We're 4-1. Of those 4 wins, is there any win that anybody's actually happy with?
Oh, see, okay. I'll let you answer that question.
I don't think there is.
No.
I mean, there's been a lot of like relief, and there's been a lot of moments like afterwards, like the end of the game, the end of the Jaguars game. Like I'm driving down to Houston, and I'm jumping in the car, and I wake up my son who was asleep, and he's like, "Why are you so happy?" And I'm like, "That was the coolest thing ever." But throughout the game, you're just like, we should be crushing these guys. With the Bills, we came out the first quarter, scored those 14 points, and it's like, you know what? We should be crushing these guys. And instead, we let them back in. Against the Colts, we looked way better than the Colts. And this is where we kind of got misconstrued on, is Anthony Richardson good or not? But it looked like we were going to crush those guys. And we felt like we should have. And we haven't turned that corner yet. Now, this is the NFL. And as a relatively young team, like, you want to, as long as you're winning the close games, you should be happy. But I think because our expectations were so high that we're not happy, because we expect to be the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs' second coming already.
I mean, I think that that's on the fans for thinking that way in the first place.
Do you?
I mean, look, go ask any team in the league when January comes around. Are you looking at how you won weeks 1 through 5? You're not. Like, you're looking at how you built and how you got better, right? So if we looked at it just from that angle, what did the Texans get better at this week than they did the week prior? Well, they got better running the ball.
Yep.
They were more accountable and disciplined, at least through 2.5 quarters.
Yeah, if you take away the third quarter where we ended up having like 5 penalties in one quarter,
right? And
like that's where the Bills scored all the points.
That's
like
if you look at all of it, that's when they've all scored their points.
Yeah, when the Texans didn't have any penalties, they were rolling. When we had penalties, that's when it fell apart.
Yeah, so I mean, I look at it like they're still ironing everything out. You don't know what this we have an idea on what this team's capable of because we saw it within the first quarter against the Bills, right? against a really good defensively minded Bills team, right? Missing Von Miller, but still, it's not like Von Miller is Von Miller from Denver. So, they went out and put on a show. There have been multiple moments of the season where you can see what this Texans team actually is, but they haven't figured out how to do it consistently yet. They're still piecing it all together. But if you told me going into this next week that the Texans are 4-1, coming off of beating potentially the best Buffalo Bills team, I mean, based on all national writers and national TV analysts and podcasts, this is the Bills team that they felt the most comfortable saying should challenge the Chiefs this year.
Oh, yeah.
You left that game winning.
They were supposed to be better after letting Diggs go. So, go figure. Josh Allen was supposed to be it was supposed to be between Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and CJ Stroud on who's actually going to be the MVP this year.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be a 3-horse race coming into the beginning of the year. And I think that Josh Allen ended up having one of the worst passing performances in 30 years. I think that's what I saw. He was just, the Texans made him look silly.
Everybody's focused on what the offense isn't doing, and because of that, they missed what the defense did do.
Yeah. Well, the defense has been doing it week in, week out.
But no, this was a different performance altogether.
Right.
Josh Allen has not played this bad since his rookie year.
Yeah.
We're talking about a guy who's been an MVP candidate. Right. Statistically, it was his worst game. But what I'm saying is he had really bad games his rookie year. Since that time, he's evolved and he's gotten better. He's the case study for not an accurate quarterback in college. You can fix accuracy, right? Mm-hmm. He is the poster boy for that. So he's shown a true level of development that most quarterbacks don't show, especially at the time, especially where he's at. So you say all that to say, everybody's focused on, well, we haven't scored 40 points or 30 points, or we're not the Chiefs, or we're not. The Chiefs aren't the Chiefs. You can't maintain that level of offense for a long period of time.
Exactly.
They are just trying to figure out who they are. What is their identity? Mixon being banged up and not playing, I think probably throws a little bit of a wrench in who their identity is. Having to use Cam Akers and I'm not even going to try to say his name, but using those two running backs after trading for Mixon and paying Mixon, it's not what the plan B was. But at the end of the day, the coaching staff is evolving and is a change agent when it comes to what this team needs to be. And because of that, we're leading to wins. And like I said, yes, the defense has been good, right? The defense has not until this game on Sunday been that good. They were that good on Sunday. They were jamming corners or wide receivers. They were getting after the quarterback inside the it was interior pressure. So there were things that were happening that haven't happened a lot. And when you shut down Joe Brady guy, I'm a Joe Brady guy. I think it's, if anybody has been listening at all. Prior to the last 2 weeks, Joe Brady was being, again, it was talks. There was, okay, he's fixed Josh Allen. He's fixed the Bills offense. D'Amico came in and said, fuck that, and shit on that offense, and made Josh Allen, he wasn't under 50% completion or something. It was insane.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I get the fans' expectations. I get the fans wanting to
10 for 30 or something.
Yeah.
It was something ridiculous.
The fans want to see the fucking greatest show on turf. I understand. There's a reason why there's only been one of those.
Right.
Reduce your expectations.
Well,
appreciate the winning and how. This is the part that fans need to realize, how they're winning.
Right.
How they're winning these games is what matters, and it builds the character that leads to the runs that you need to have in January.
Well, it's common knowledge that part of the thing with parity in the NFL is every team is just kind of equally mediocre.
Yep.
It's
an 8-8 league, like Bill O'Brien would say.
Right. And you need the break. What team gets the breaks? Which team has those slight little advantages? And between our defense and CJ Stroud, we're getting those.
And we didn't one game. And look at that one game that we didn't get.
Right.
Minnesota. And they got every bounce.
Well, and
they're still getting that bounce.
And that Minnesota team is really good.
They are. They're very good. The
more you watch them, the more you're like, dude,
100%.
They've got something going on.
Yeah.
There. And they're one of those teams that catch magic, whereas we're supposed to be that team that last year was okay. The nucleus came together, and then typical rebuilds. This year would be the year where we're competitive every game and we're
Yep.
barely losing.
Yep.
But instead, last year was the year that it came together and we were competitive every game and we were barely losing and we were just like that. We were a tier below. And this year is the year we're like ahead of schedule.
Yep.
So this year we continue to eke out these wins and continue to win. And yeah, things still haven't clicked. This doesn't necessarily mean that they are below expectations because we still have only lost to one really good team. Now,
we did get blown out by that
team. Yeah, we got embarrassed by that team. But I think we also set like a new record for how many penalties you can have in a game. And right now, I still feel as though this team, when they play discipline, can play with anyone, regardless of the play calling, regardless of like who's in and who's out. Because of CJ Stroud, because of our defense. Like, there's not a team that really scares me. And I do think that it's kind of a good thing to be at this point. But we're 4-1, and we still feel like the team's just kind of scratching the potential of what they could be.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's the exciting part about this team, and especially like to go back to like my comments about CJ. Like, I know I was the only person that ever criticized Deshaun, so therefore I got I hate Deshaun Watson when and now you can confirm it. I absolutely do. But like when we have stars come into this city specifically, we are not allowed to criticize our stars in Houston. You can't say anything about an at bat for Altuve. You can't say anything about an at bat about Bregman, an outing for Verlander, anything about Akeem or Tracy or like all of the H-Town legends. You can't criticize, right? And my decision, like me criticizing CJ, has nothing to do with like my fandom. I love him. There's just levels that he has to still get to. The fact that you guys expect him to be a perfect quarterback during his second year of being an NFL quarterback is unfair for CJ Stroud. And it puts an unfair expectation on CJ that now when he does have a bad game, you're like, oh, you kind of just excuse it, when in reality, like there's things and like telling signs that show like there are just things that he needs to do, right? There are times like on Sunday, there was like 2 sacks that he probably should have just thrown the ball away. Remember, we used to scream that for Deshaun. We screamed it. Deshaun never learned. CJ is going to learn because he's shown that he's willing to learn on all things. But it's okay to say that CJ can't. I mean, John, we're just playing footsies. It's okay to say that there are certain aspects of CJ's game that he has to get better at, and that's okay. But if you ask CJ, is it Slowik or him at the bar and no media is around, what do you think he's going to say?
He's going to say it's him because that's the type of guy he is.
And there's a level of accountability that comes with it, right? It is a working collaboration that both have to be on the same page for it to work. And I think there are just times where sometimes CJ just isn't on that page, and that's okay. And sometimes the wide receiver's not.
It's on both. Like, first off,
that's all I'm saying. So let's not all pass it to Slowik, I guess, is my point. Thank you, John.
It is on both. But there's definitely been some serious issues with play calling. There has. I mean, I don't know.
The 4th down run for sure. I'll give you that.
Oh,
that's 100%.
Well,
we should have just ran Davis in there and let him QB sneak it.
Stopping the clock and throwing on the 3rd down, which led to
the wide open one.
Intentional grounding.
Oh yeah.
When all they had to do was just go.
But that was one of those plays where I felt like you, CJ, you knew you weren't getting that. Like, just go down, bro. Or just once you see that free blitzer, you're in and that's like the veteran aspect of CJ that he doesn't have yet. You see a free blitzer on the end, you're in a field goal position. You have to chunk that ball. There's no trying to make a hero play here. Chunk the ball away.
He did, and that's why he got intentional grounding.
But no, you chunk it. You know what I mean? You chunk it to where a player is in the vicinity. Well, we did, but he tried to do the CJ thing because he got away with it a couple times during the game.
I think the receiver ran the wrong route,
and I think that I should have $1 million in my bank account. The point
they weren't on the same page with the route,
and that's what I mean. Like,
I mean, regardless, like that should have just been an easy run up the middle. Like, just take the points.
But you can't take the points. I guess that's the thing. Like people say take the points on the field goal, but that's not a guarantee. Like, yes, Kaiami's been great. Don't get me wrong. He's been great, but he also has missed one from 50, right?
Oh, yeah. But he's also
agreed. But what I'm saying is that one miss shows you that next one is possible.
Right.
So, like, is it really Slowik's fault for trying to gain another 5 to 7 yards to make that kick easier for Kaiami? Like, if we keep relying on Kaiami every week, just like CJ, eventually Kaiami's going to let us down. Right. He's going to miss one.
I mean, he's going to miss more than one.
Like, but that's what I mean.
Just I mean, that's the nature of being a kicker. And that's
what
fine,
I mean. He's trying to make it easier.
In that circumstance, I don't know. Like
I get both sides. I do get your side.
It was just one of these, like,
run up the middle, kick it, go home. I get
at the beginning of the game, when we needed to be throwing the ball more, or not beginning, I would say the beginning of the half, when we needed to be throwing the ball more.
Yeah.
We just completely got away from it. And we were having no success running the ball.
Yep.
And this is nothing against Dare. He's done absolutely great.
No, Dare's
Akers
been great.
has done great.
Yep.
For what's been asked of them. But at the time, we were getting nothing. And CJ was actually on a roll. And instead of just continuing to go with the play actions, we get away from that.
Yep.
And we're just trying to grind it out with just ineffective running game or ineffective run. And then at the end of the game where you're like, okay, let's just try and run it a couple times, play a little bit more conservative. At this point, this is when we're going to start throwing again. It was just one of those, like, I don't know, just head scratchers to me. Absolute head scratchers to me. That last year, I thought he showed better decision-making when it came to calling runs versus passes. Whereas this year, like, I almost wonder if I still wonder if Slowik's in his own head. Like, I don't know. I just, something is off there.
Let me ask you a question. You used to run a multi-million-dollar amusement park, right?
Right.
And you were the general manager.
Correct.
You oversaw all operations. And then you had a food and beverage manager, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you probably had like a facilities manager.
Facilities, indoor manager, outdoor manager, bev, bar. Yeah.
So if the food and beverage manager doesn't order enough funnel cakes for a weekend, but you truly trust him, he's never done that before, you empower him to go make his own decisions, and he misses that, and you didn't look over his order, whose fault is it? The food and beverage manager or the general manager?
It depends on the situation.
It's the general manager's fault all times because you're responsible for full operations of the amusement park.
Correct, but you can't fix it by always taking the blame.
No, it's not about taking the blame. It's about managing. You have to manage, right? You can empower, but you have to manage.
But
second year play caller probably should be managed more by head coach than just saying, here's full reign.
But here's the thing.
How come D'Amico gets no blame for this? That's insane to me. Everybody wants to let D'Amico. When does the fucking hometown shit go away? When does the middle linebacker draft?
Dude,
when does that go away?
Man.
When does that go away?
Brave man.
No, when the fuck does it go away? Like, you can't go blame Bobby and not give any to D'Amico. It all runs uphill. D'Amico is the man that's supposed to manage him. So it's either D'Amico is managing him and trusts his guy that he's doing the right thing.
So now you want him to micromanage?
It's not micro. Is that micromanaging?
You want a defensive coach to micromanage the offense.
First and foremost, you're talking to the guy of management when it comes to people. You empower your people until they make a mistake. And when you make the mistake, then you have a conversation of, hey, like, here's one thing I saw. This is how you could do it better. I trust that you'll get it right. But I just wanted to make sure I called this out. The last game, we did XYZ. It kind of put us in a negative position. Luckily, we overcame it, still got the dub. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure we don't put ourselves in that position. By the end of the week, can you show me what we're going to do to ensure that we don't do that again? That's not micromanaging. That's asking them.
When you put it like that.
Well, that's why I do what I do. Because I'm good at it, right?
No,
maybe D'Amico's not good at the people side of things yet. Maybe D'Amico's not good at the management side of things. I say that to say this all goes back
I'm gonna let you finish your story.
Let me finish.
Because you started it wrong, but when you explained it, because you started it off like they've never done it wrong before.
No. What I'm saying
when you
is,
gave me the analogy, you said he had never done it wrong before.
Yeah, for you, right? But what's
now
wrong
you're
to somebody?
describing it.
No, listen.
The way you're describing it now,
you're jumping off
is
cliffs.
something has gone wrong before.
You're jumping off cliffs.
And now it has to be. Now you've had the feedback.
This is
you've
the
had
first
that session, and they didn't improve.
Right. This is only his second year being who he is as a head coach.
Right.
He's learning too.
Right.
So he doesn't know that he needs to have those conversations yet. He believes that offensive coordinator, defense, I should just kind of manage from here. As you go through your career as a manager, you start to learn the things that you did not know, right? A lot of times we don't have people developing us and guiding us down what it should look like, what we should be doing. We're left to figure it out on our own. Some people figure it out like that. Some people figure it out in 5 years. Some people never figure it out, right? D'Amico doesn't have somebody showing him, hey, this is how you should manage your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, your special teams coordinator, your wide receiver. Like, he doesn't know how that's supposed to be.
Okay.
So as he's learning through that, he's learning that, actually, I should have that conversation with Bobby. And I wasn't aware that I should have that conversation with Bobby yet. But now as I'm learning on the job, and this all goes back to the fact that this team, the problem with this team, and it's the same problem it's been, it's second year head coach, second year play caller, second year quarterback. It's not going to be fucking butterflies and rainbows. They have to grow together as a unit, and they'll have the opportunity to do that. Don't tap your watch at me when I'm getting my point going. You've been talking a lot this whole time.
No.
All right, then.
I'm watching out for you because I wanted to make sure that I had a chance to say what I was going to say afterwards.
But what I'm saying is it all comes back to the fact that they're still learning each other.
Right.
And as a good management team, you have to learn your people before you can truly manage them.
Right.
You have to be the leader that person needs you to be, not the manager or leader that you want to be.
Right.
And so this gives D'Amico the opportunity to come back around and say, hey, look, these runs on first down, like as a good leader, he should come and say, look, here's all of our negative run plays and what it did to us on that following series. We have to figure out a way to mix in something that makes this a little bit different. Also, it's going to catch defenses off guard moving forward. That's it. All stops at D'Amico Ryans. And so that's all I'm saying. Like, he should not catch nothing.
What's funny about this is we both agree on this. So I can't believe we're actually having an argument. But I want to push back on the false accountability where, remember Bill O'Brien? It's all on me. It's all on me. It's all on me.
But that's outward. No, that's outward, though. You know what I mean? That's outward. You're talking about at the press. I'm not worried about I don't give a fuck about the cameras.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say. D'Amico can come say it's all on me. It's all like behind closed doors. You need to be having those conversations. And if nothing's changed on the video for us to see, then that means the conversation hasn't happened or Bobby's not coachable.
Right.
Those are the only two things. Does that make sense?
All right.
I don't care what he says to us. We're never going to know the truth. It's just like Bill O'Brien. We don't know what he did.
Yeah, he would get up there after every account.
That's on me. That's on me.
That's on me.
Yeah.
Not answer any questions. Just say that's on me.
100%.
That's false accountability. And to go back to what I was saying in the beginning, when you completely blew up on me when I say it depends if it's on the GM or the food and bev average. Of course, everything is ultimately on the GM. That's why you're the GM.
Mm-hmm.
However, it depends on the situation. First time they've ever done it, what happened? Did they not have the information they needed? Did they not understand something? Like there's so many different things there that could have gone on, and you need to understand that situation. And it could have just been, you know what? The food and bev manager came in hungover one day and just didn't write it down. And which, again, theme parks, working with 20-year-olds, that shit happened. People just came in, and if it was the first time you had that conversation, you correct it. Now, that's not on the GM that he came in hungover, but it's on the GM if he doesn't address the issue so that employee has a chance to improve himself.
And that's what I'm saying. We don't know what conversations are being had to know what's happening with Bobby and D'Amico. And I'm not saying there's an issue between Bobby and D'Amico.
You're just implying it.
No, what I'm implying is that both have to learn their roles. Yeah. And as they're going through this development phase, they're figuring out how that works and how they can do it together to better the team. We'll never be privy to those conversations. There's definitely no, I don't believe there's any, bad chemistry or juju between them. I don't think it's anything like that. I just think that a lot of times we expect people to perform at a level that is unfair for them to be able to perform at if we're not setting them up for success to do so. If we're not having those continuous development conversations.
It just goes back to what we were saying even a little while ago. I think last year the expectations were so low, and they absolutely blew away those expectations.
Right, and that's what comes back to this.
And which makes it look even better by blowing it away the way that they did. So let's just say, because our expectations were 1, they came in, consistently performed at a 6 or 7.
Yep.
But that 6 or 7, because our expectations were so low, looked like an 8 or a 9. So this year we're expecting 10s after 10s after 10s. And we're actually getting closer to a 7 or 8.
But guess who performs higher in January and February? It's the 7 or 8s. It's not the 10s.
Yeah.
Because being a consistent 10 doesn't happen in this league.
No.
You know, it's we see it, but it's not as often as people like it to be, right?
Well, I mean, it's a bad cliche.
Who made the NFC championship last year? Was it the Lions?
Yes.
Right.
Oh, I mean, it's that horrible cliche that they have to learn how to win.
Yeah.
And they are learning how to win.
They also need to learn how to lose.
Yeah.
And it sucks to say that.
They need to learn how to keep it together when things aren't going their way. And, you know, they're growing. And they're 4-1.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't like the end of the world. Like, if we go on a 3-8 skid, then we can start wanting to ring up Ryans or ring up Slowik.
Yeah.
At that point, we can get a little bit worried. But right now, they're winning still.
And what matters. Like I guess like when I come in here and I see the timeline and it's Slowik. It's like, dude, we do this every year. You guys do it every year. You did it with Bill O'Brien. You did it with Gary Kubiak. You're doing it now with D'Amico and Bobby Slowik. So it's like, I get it. You got to have something to complain about. We can't just enjoy the moments for most people. Most people, you know, Yelp was created for people to complain. Google reviews were made for people to complain. Twitter, Texans, football in general, made more complaining than celebrating. I get it. But, like, take a step back. Look at the situation. Your Texans are 4-1. They're outperforming where they probably should be right now, outside of that one loss to the Vikings. Like, this team is a AFC championship contender. I would trust that they would probably also be a team that I would feel comfortable saying can beat the Chiefs. So far, what they've showed me is that they can beat any team in the league. They just need to continue to iron out the wrinkles. And I think that's the cool thing about the regular season is they're going to have 12 more games to figure it out before they go into the playoffs. And like, that's okay.
I mean, we're not even a third of the way through the season yet.
That's what I'm saying. Who knows?
We've got plenty of time to see how it's going to go. CJ Stroud has done nothing to make me think less of him as a quarterback. Like, if anything, I mean, yeah, the numbers are really good. like it's one of those weird things because we're not blowing people out. But at the same time, it's not like they've been playing badly. So it's mainly the reason that we're not blowing teams out is penalties, sloppiness. I would say play calling. I would actually agree with you at times where it's like, you know what? You don't have to have this 8 for 8 streak. It's okay to throw an incomplete.
I guess that's what I mean. Like, that was the interesting part was like Jared Goff the week before had that 18 for 18 game.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw that 8 for 8 stat, I was like, I know you're a competitor. I know you would like for that to be your potential stat line, right?
Especially since
he's that good. He's better than Goff, right? So it's like, come on.
Well, I mean, Goff has actually matured into a fairly
it's a good quarterback. It's a good quarterback.
But CJ Stroud has an absolute elite level of ball placement.
100%.
And he throws probably the most catchable ball in the
100%.
So I absolutely get it when he turns around and he's like, 18 for 18? I can do that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to.
And that's what I mean. Like, I get it. We get caught up in like, and it's been shown in sports that like players they choose Russell Westbrook chose to get a couple triple doubles. You know what I mean? Like, there are plenty of situations where we see, and I'm not saying CJ was doing that, but I do think in his mind he's like, well, shit, I'm already 8 for 8. Like, I can go 9 for 9. I can go 10 for 10. You know what I mean? And
well, it's just
nothing wrong with that.
Like,
chase it.
It's that feeling.
Just don't do it over the.
Anybody that has ever played sports, you get it. You're like
competitive individuals.
Do I keep doing this? I know it's not smart.
Yep.
But should I keep doing this? Like you as a golfer, where you're like, I know I can hit that green. I know I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
if I hit it right. But if I hit it just a little bit wrong, it's going to be trouble.
Yep.
Instead of taking the easy shot.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, they'll be fine. I'm not too worried about it. I know the criticism. I'm sure if I'm sure John will clip this up properly now, so it'll get plenty of views to get hated on. That's great, but I'm open to it. I guess my point is, if you spend and we'll end it on this, if you spend all your time complaining about how we're winning games, you miss the fact and the moment of actually winning games.
Yeah.
And you don't want to do that because you don't know how winning can go away, right? Look at the Giants. There's so many teams. Stop for 1 second complaining about how we're winning and just enjoy that we are winning,
Right.
because this team wasn't winning 2 years ago. And it's like now, and to me, like you were talking about stats.
We were in absolute football hell.
That's what I mean. It's like, I don't understand where like the entitled takes come from for like what this should be. Like, dude, what? We're 4-1. We have a quarterback. We have the best wide receiver in the league. We have a great, potentially a great offensive line. The defense is looking like it's performing. We're getting D'Amico Autry back. Like, there are so many things that are happening where it's like, dude, you're really talking about Slowik right now?
Yeah.
Like, that's how we're ending our week.
I don't want to call out somebody's username, but they were so worried that Slowik was going to walk away as a head coach over the offseason, and they're already calling for a set.
Yeah, I mean,
I
get it.
Chill. Like, yeah. I get it, but we're winning. If we start losing,
that's different.
That's absolutely different. At that point, you get to start calling for people's heads, and you can use the wins at that point as
CJ did it. CJ won. Like, however you want to phrase those conversations.
At that point, you can use the wins as evidence, but as of right now, season's still going. We're still winning. I mean, I definitely have my issues with him as well. Like, I'm not going to disagree with it, but
what play caller's perfect?
Yeah, but calling for him to be fired, like, no.
But no, legitimately though, like what play caller is perfect?
Enjoy the moments. Like, Shanahan is considered probably the best play caller in the entire league.
Andy Reid maybe, but yeah, and Andy Reid's led to championships, but.
Well, I mean, he has Pat Mahomes versus Brock.
But I'm just saying.
I'm just saying, like, look at what he.
But yes, 100%. Shanahan is designed and all of that. He's the guy.
Yeah, probably.
But he also just got dusted. But sure.
Exactly.
I'm just saying.
That's my point.
That's what I mean. Like, dude, you guys are looking at the goat of whatever.
And I mean, that's why. I mean, it ultimately, like, as good as a play caller may be, it comes down to players.
And it also comes down to execution. There's so many things that are uncontrollable. And, like you said, as your excuse of if they place the order wrong, like, it takes the player to execute, right? You have to ask, did your coaches put them in a position to be able to execute? And, so like, there's just so many variables. Right. There's so many variables.
And it's, how do you respond when there is adversity?
Exactly. And that's my biggest thing.
Right.
I think they're responding.
Right now with Slowik, like, again, my concern is he is shown to be a very, very good play caller.
Agreed.
But I think right now he's in his own head
I agree.
Too much.
I agree.
And I think that actually goes back to what you were saying at the beginning. Dude, it's the second year calling plays. Like, we all need to chill. And I agree with that.
Yeah, just take time. Enjoy the wins because they can go away at any time. All right.
No kidding. Or you go from having a top quarterback to that quarterback being the worst in the league. So.
I can't. I have 3 minutes until a meeting.
Walking out of a huddle.
No,
walking out of a huddle.
Ian Rappaport actually debunked that. Did you see that tweet?
I don't care.
Yeah, he did. I know. It was a great theory because it ended up. He pointed out, like Ian pointed out that I guess there were 12 men on the field, and Amari was counting too. But I guess before that was noticed, 4.7 million people saw that Deshaun walked off the field.
Yeah.
I have a meeting in 3 minutes.
He walked off the field and then got into an argument with his coach about it. So
I mean, look, the dog show is an interesting one to watch right now.
Regardless of anything, like I would, yeah.
He's
it was still awful.
The most interesting storyline is going to be how they remove themselves from Deshaun Watson. It's obviously over. I think they're either at the point where they're right now tied for first overall pick or like in the vicinity with Carolina, I think.
Remember last year?
Because Carolina won a game. Yeah, Carolina won a game.
I mean, I remember last year where we were all rooting. It's like, we didn't want Deshaun to get hurt because we would have gotten a better pick. And I thought at the time it was just, copium. But no, that was the right take. Who knew Flacco still. Old man Flacco.
Flacco almost beat the Jags.
Yeah, like still a better quarterback.
Yeah. All right, guys. that's going to be the end of Texans Unfiltered, a Houston football podcast for this week. I'm Young Ari Gold. That's John Wade.
Like, subscribe, follow us everywhere.
Do all that. John's doing the social media stuff a little bit. Why don't you put captions at all? Do you just be posting stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how to.
Like you don't put any text at the bottom.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. I've been working on it.
Okay, all right. I'm just wondering. I just noticed it. I did like that one where we were in the street dancing. That was fun.
Lots of times I'm just messing around, and like one of the kids is like climbing on my head.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, who do we play next week?
Patriots.
Okay, that's good.
With a rookie quarterback potentially.
With Drake May. Interesting. Hopefully we have him seeing ghosts. All right. I have 1 minute. So with that being said, we will catch you guys next week, and go Texans.